Okay, this is part 2 of my Fox suspension drama. I've got my answers. Let me just get it out of the way here in the beginning. I was wrong. In my previous video, I asked for people's input on what could be wrong with my Fox suspension if I installed it wrong, if it was a design flaw in the Fox suspension rear shock setup for the 5th gen 4Runner. Thank you so much for everyone that gave me feedback. I also asked for feedback on the front suspension on the corrosion that I experienced from 1 week in Vermont. So let me cover the front suspension real quick, and then we will move on to the rear suspension. And I also heard back from Fox as well. So for the front suspension, I was told that I brought it on to myself, that I didn't protect it before I went into the salt zone. I accept that. I thought I did a little bit of protection, not enough. I also found out about a product called fluid film, and that is supposedly really popular for the people that live up north. I also found out about Neoprene coilover covers. So I Googled that, and this is what they look like. They wrap around your coilover and they go from the top all the way to the bottom, and it helps prevent pitting, the corrosion, the salt. It looks like you could even use it if you're mudding, and it keeps the shaft clean, keeps the coils and the threads on the body exposed from the salt and everything else. So that's what I learned about the front. Okay, let's move to the back and talk about the rear shocks with the piggyback reservoirs and what everyone's comments were and the feedback was that I got on it. I'm gonna tell you what the ideas were, and then I'm gonna go over it with the video and show you how it would work on mine and everything from there. Okay, one of the feedbacks that I got was I can move the reservoir higher up on the shock and keep it in the front. That was a good suggestion. I'm worried about the steel braided lines. The second one, a lot of people recommended, is the 2.5 DSC Tundra conversion for the 5th gen 4Runner, where you take and move the reservoir to the frame, whether you have the 2.5s or these 2.0s. I did buy those Fox brackets to mount those to the frame, and I'll show you those in here in a second. A third suggestion I had gotten was I should have had it done by a professional. So that was a good suggestion. Okay, and the final answer I got back from Fox was different than anything that anyone had suggested. The final answer from Fox was that the reservoir, instead of going on the front of the shock, it actually needed to go on the back of the shock, right between the shock body and the bump stop. I didn't think it would fit there, so I went ahead and gave that a shot too, and I'll show you the video here in a second. What I did is I went on the internet and found a picture of the reservoir mounted on the front, and I used the photo that they sent from Fox where it's mounted on the back. I went ahead and did a poll on Instagram, and the results were not shocking to me, but very different than what Fox had said. 75% of the people polled, you can see here, said the reservoir goes on the front. 25% said it goes on the back. Okay, let's work backwards. For Fox's response, the reservoir mounted to the back of it, it does fit, you can see here, between the shock body and the bump stop. So I was wrong on that. Notice how the steel braided line curves around. I tried to rotate it every which way I could, and the steel line was either still too far out or it was too close to the frame and wouldn't work. And by too far out, I mean, look when I mounted the tire. The steel braided line was really close to that no matter which way I rotated the reservoir. So I really didn't think that was a good option. Stay tuned for more on that. The second piece of feedback that I got was do the 2.5 Tundra conversion. I didn't want to do that because I didn't want to do wheel spacers. So I've got the 2.0s, the reservoir, I could mount it to the frame. I've got those brackets as you see here. Look at what happens when I try to hold it with my hand. I'm like, okay, I got good clearance. So I go ahead and take the tire off, then I mount the bracket to the frame, put the reservoir in it, put the tire back up, and look at the clearance, or should I say the lack of. You can't even get a finger between there. Notice here in this photo, though the mount says for the 2.0 reservoir or the 2.5, if the reservoir is at the back, the hose clamp will work, but not on the front, and then vice versa. So I really don't feel like these brackets were designed for the 2.0 reservoirs overall, but the clearance, not gonna work. Real quick, one easy workaround could be I would go ahead and get wheel spacers for Roxanne. That would move the wheel and tire further away and give me about 1.25 inches, 1.5 inches clearance, being that I wanna keep the TRD Pro wheels and not go with an aftermarket set. So I need extra clearance. The difficulty with that, or the problems that I would face, is that with the wheel spacers moved up front as well, I would then need to chop more of my fender liner, and I'd also need to do a body mount chop. I'm not against doing the body mount chop, I just don't want to do it right now. So overall, mounting the reservoir to the frame, not a great idea. Not enough clearance, just like I saw with Fox's response, not enough clearance from the hose in that particular instance. So what did I wind up doing? I went ahead and took the recommendation to mount the reservoir higher up on the front of the shock and tuck the steel braided line, just like the photo from AccuTune did, inside the body between the frame and the sway bar end link. This took quite a bit of time to get it set up where it would be pivoted or rotated properly articulated within the clamp, and then how high up it would go. With my jack underneath of it and the bump stop, I tried to estimate how much gap was between the axle and the bump stop, and also how much distance was between the parking brake cable and that reservoir. To the best of my abilities, it looks like it's going to hit the bump stop before the parking brake cable hits the reservoir. So I'm really pleased with how it's come out. I haven't driven it, I haven't done any wheeling with it, but it looks like I'm in the clear at this point. So there you have it. That's the end result. Fox said I did it wrong. I looked into it. It doesn't look like their suggestion would have worked on the 5th Gen 4Runner. And one person even said reservoirs don't belong on the back of a 5th Gen 4Runner. And after all this hassle, I probably do agree. I already own these though. So tell me in the comments what you think about what Fox said, about what the other recommendations were. Have you heard of fluid film? Have you heard of neoprene coilover covers for the front? And if you have reservoirs on the back, where do you mount them at? I look forward to continuing to use the Fox suspension. It's a great ride. I just don't like it damaging my vehicle. And I fully accept that I did it wrong in the beginning, and I'm gonna move on from there. So as always, thank you for watching.